Welcome back to Morning Express, and it is now 20 minutes to 7. And as we count down, it's 81 days before we get to August the 8th and we go to the polls. One of the things we'd like to discuss this morning is independent candidates. And that is especially because we're likely to see more independent candidates going to the ballot for several reasons. And we'd like to discuss what might be the ramifications of that. So joining me in studio to my extreme right, we have Dan Gishaga, who is an independent candidate who is vying for Member of Parliament in Naivasha. We also have Musari Siongo, who is vying for Langata as an independent candidate, although previously was on an ODM ticket. But let me start. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for having you here bright and early for the dawn debate. Let me start with you, Dan. And you have been an independent candidate right from the word go. In 2013, you went independent. You've also decided to go independent this year. Why did you go independent in 2013? Is it that you found the political parties that were there were not good enough for you?
Now, for me, it's about the spirit of the Constitution. Our Constitution was crafted by the drafters in a manner that allows those people who do not, those leaders who do not find what they stand for in their policies and their philosophy and their leadership philosophy being expressed through the parties that exist, to contest as independents, so that they can be able to articulate their issues with the independence that they feel in their conscience, will allow this country to move to a level where we can have parties now that reflect the will of the people.
So are you indirectly saying that the parties we have do not reflect the will of the people?
I would say that, for instance, in my constituency, where I come from, Naivasha constituency, if you look at the way this country is divided in terms of the political persuasions, in my constituency where I was born and brought up, we have people who come from Western Kenya, Nyanza, those who come from other parts of the country, all over. And we want a situation where all members of my constituency, who I call by one name, Naivashans, because when we come together, we forget our tribes and become one people. I want to be the face that represents that Naivashan who has a different political persuasion from the other, so that when it comes to our specific constituency, we are able to come together and solve our problems as a people.
So what exactly is wrong with the political parties? I've still not got that answer from you, because you've said in the spirit of the Constitution, are you saying they're unconstitutional then, the parties?
I do not necessarily say they are unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that the parties we have today, for instance,
you can name them. I mean, there's Jubilee, there's NASA.
There are those parties. Yeah. There's Jubilee, there's NASA. Once you say Jubilee, and some people in my constituency will definitely not identify with that party for certain reasons that are well known to all of us as Kenyans. When you say NASA, there are certain people in my constituency, again, who will not identify with that kind of, with the ideologies, because of how the political spectrum in this country has been structured. And for that reason, my conscience does not allow me to join either of the two parties. However much, as an individual, I have my personal opinion as to who among the two leaders of the two coalitions should lead this country moving forward. Okay. But that is my personal opinion. But I respect that opinion of that other Naivashan who also thinks that someone else should lead this country. But I want to assure all of them as Naivashans that once they give me the humble opportunity to serve them as a member of parliament, as an independent, I will serve them equally, regardless of who they may have voted for as president.
Okay, so as an individual, I'm coming to you shortly. I just want to make sure that I understand you fully. As an individual, do you then have an ideology? Do you have a narrative that you have that is away from the political parties that we currently have?
This is my, as what I know as an individual and what I believe in is that we have the independence generation that gave us freedom from colonialism. Then we have the post-independence generation that gave us what we would call a new constitution and the freedom of expression and all the freedoms we enjoy today. I feel in my conscience and deep in my heart that it is the role of our generation today to liberate this country from the last remaining hurdle, which is the divisive politics that become a motive just close to election. The rest of the 4 years, Kenyans are one people. But when we come just near the election, that is when we again regroup into our divisive, emotional, political persuasions.
All right.
And that is what I'm saying. That once, for instance, after serving for 5 years, for the next 5 years as a member of parliament for Naivasha, and we are able to create a political structure that allows us to have parties that allow Kenyans to join not on the basis of tribe, but on the basis of the ideas that that party stands for, then I will be glad to pick a party and to either form one or join one that expresses such an ideology.
All right,
and I feel that as a member of my generation, I would be betraying my generation if when I ended up in parliament to begin speaking the same language that had been spoken for the last 50 years.
All right. I'll come back to you on whether you're supporting any particular presidential candidate. But let me hear from you, Musari. First of all, your comments on his thoughts, the fact that the political parties we have right now are basically, built around certain narratives that he does not agree with. And as a young member of parliament aspirant, do you feel that the political parties that we have right now are possibly the same narrative that we have had for the last 54 years?
First of all, thank you, Mike. I don't want to begin my morning today with mentioning whether Dan either believes or not in political party structure. But I do. And that's why I'm an immediate former member of ODM. Actually, my ODM number is number 228795. That's how dear it was to me. And it remains so.
Was or is?
Well, right now, the present reality is that we are independent.
Okay.
But I think what you're seeing here is what I would call some form of political trauma on my friend Mahiri's side, because I think he's traumatized by how the capacity constraints, which we discussed the other morning, continue to make nominations not free and fair in the political parties. Having said that, if I were to take the example, and I think to say NASA as a political party would be a bit broad, because you have several political parties inside there.
It's a combination of several parties, a coalition.
Yeah. So let me say this. ODM, my immediate former party, is a social democratic party. It's center-left leaning. And therefore you'll find that my individual thoughts are definitely aligned to center-left in thinking. Social democracy, a bit of liberalism. What you're looking about, I'd like to say perhaps on the other end, is a bit of fascism. And I think I'm being a bit rough on them. However, having said that, we have a situation where you have person-centric ideologies when you're going into an independent candidature. Like he's saying, he's never belonged to any political party. He doesn't want to. He thinks the political parties don't share his ideals. Now, that's a person-centric view. Whereas my joining the Brigade of Independence is a people-centric view. I think you've been following carefully what's happening with the ODM Langata certificate.
Correct.
And it's become a circus between the courts and individuals running up and down. I don't want to particularly point fingers at anybody. I think we discussed that last time. But I believe that the people of Langata certainly deserve the opportunity to be able to choose a leader of their will and their liking. Now, the nomination process did not reflect the will of the people. This is clear from how the certificate keeps flying up and about. But it has nothing to do with the entirety of the party. It has something to do with the process. So ODM is still a formidable party. NASA is a great coalition, definitely going to win. And I'm a great independent candidate, definitely going to win.
All right, and what do you think if it's not a problem of the party, if it's, like you say, it's not entirely an issue of the party, what then is the problem that they cannot come with a credible way of issuing that certificate to the people's choice?
Well, I wouldn't want to distance the process from the party. I said that ODM is a formidable party with a great leader, Right Honorable Raila Odinga. However, the process of nominations is exactly like a general election. And I told you before that we have serious capacity constraints within the parties, and that is across the board. Whether they're talking about Jubilee, you're talking about Restore and Build Kenya, any party. Because the kind of money that you're talking about to run a credible election for a single party to hold right now in Kenya is not, we're not yet there. I just want to be very clear.
All right, let me come back to you, Dan and Mahiri. And the question here is, as much as you're running as an independent candidate, do you have a particular presidential candidate that you're supporting?
This is what I'm going to say about that question. Number one, the fact that I'm not a member of a political party does not in itself mean that I do not have certain principles that I stand for. For instance, Naivasha is a place that is extremely cosmopolitan. And my stand to run as an independent is not as a result of not having a political persuasion or not having a political stand. It's as a result of knowing that the best stand for my constituency as we speak today in the current political dynamics is to contest as an independent and to serve all Naivashans equally. Coming to your question as to whether I have...
Maybe let me pause you there. And is that because within the parties that are there, possibly they have favorites who maybe you don't happen to be one of them?
And I would say that if I opted to run on a party ticket, I can tell you with almost very high percentage of certainty that probably today I would be a candidate on a political party ticket if nominations were to be held free, fair, and in a credible manner.
At the party level?
At the party level.
Okay.
So I have no issue with running on a political party ticket if I can find a political party that is not going to be a baggage to my candidacy, but is also going to be a party that my people, all of my people in Naivasha, can identify with.
Okay.
Having said that, as an individual, I will say this, that my choice, and that is where the difference between me, for instance, and probably the most popular party in my constituency, in terms of numbers, would be Jubilee. The difference between Dan Mahiri and probably the Jubilee candidate in Naivasha is that the Jubilee candidate in Naivasha expects to use the name of the Jubilee presidential candidate to woo voters. On the other hand, Dan Mahiri intends to use his persuasion and his neutral ground to woo voters who would otherwise not even consider voting for the Jubilee presidential candidate, who is the presidential candidate that I support in this election, for the simple fact that he has served this country well, he has done a good job, and we intend to have him finish what he has done so far. And I can tell you that I will do my best to ensure that I persuade as many of those who would otherwise have voted for NASA to vote for Jubilee, because one, the deputy party leader of my brother's former party has been all over telling Kenyans that the president is moving the port from Mombasa to Naivasha. I do not want to get into the intrigues
and the politics of that.
And in the politics of that, but I want to say this. It must be clear that for the first time, a Naivashan is responding to that issue and saying that Governor Joho must desist from confusing Kenyans if he does not understand the difference between a port and a cargo depot. For whatever reasons, he should kindly invest a bit of time to understand that and to know that no service is moving, no ship will be docking in Naivasha. It is only that cargo will be moving from the port and docking in Naivasha.
And now that is an individual. But the question I asked is whether you have a particular presidential candidate that you are supporting.
And that is how I've answered my question by saying, for that reason only, I want to tell all Naivashans that a party and a presidential candidate whose deputy believes that there should not be a container depot in Naivasha, where regardless of which village you have come from the rest of the country, you must not consider supporting a candidate whose deputy in the party believes that we should not get the container depot that is coming to Naivasha in a year's time. So in a sentence,
you're supporting Uhuru Kenyatta's candidacy?
In a sentence, I have every reason to believe that President Uhuru Kenyatta will serve this country for another term, and I look forward to taking a train trip with him, the first train trip to Naivasha when the railway is ready.
All right, we'll come back to you, but you now decamped from ODM, and maybe for the benefit of those who possibly were not able to catch up with that previous interview, the question that I'd asked earlier on is whether you're a sore loser. Is it one of those who cannot accept that I have lost, and therefore, because my party has not, or I have not been selected within the party, now I'm going independent?
I'd like to say, first of all, absolutely not. I'm not a sore loser. I don't think 90% of the people who are coming in as independents are sore losers. You're in the media yourself, so you monitor with truth, I think. I should hope.
I believe so.
And I think you've been seeing how the party primaries have been going. Having said so, I think I deserve a bit of a right of response. First and foremost, my good colleague here, Dan, is being economical with the truth and I think a bit numb with his conscience. Governor Joho is not on record stating that there will be ships docking in Naivasha. I think this is a bit orchestrated and illustrative. Having said that, what Governor Joho is talking about is basically logistical issues. If you were to do a dry port in this country, the best place to do a dry port would be in Kisumu. Why? Because from Kisumu you have options of rail and lake transport, marine transport, where you'd be able to service 4 countries who are in the hinterland of the East and Central African divide. That's an economic argument. What we're having from here, Dan, I'm sorry, that's what you call a very emotive argument. And I want to say that you have stated quite clearly that you have taken the path of independence because you want to be able to woo voters from NASA and you want to be able to woo voters from the Jubilee end. Any person who wants to win an election within a constituency wants to get voters from both sides. If you become parliament, if you become the parliamentary representative, you have to serve people from both sides. This is there, this is clear.
Serve all and sundry.
Exactly. However, if we are going to sell policies in this country, it would be better off to tell people what you want to do when you get into parliament than to castigate other people's ideas and opinions without really getting into the nitty-gritty of it. If you're talking about the idea of dry ports and rails, you have to be very clear in your understanding of transport economics. And this is where you're delving into right now. And what Governor Joho has been talking about consistently is whether it is economically feasible or if it makes any sense whatsoever to take a dry port from Mombasa, 475 kilometers away from Nairobi, then take it to 150 kilometers away from Naivasha and put there a dry port. Why would we be stopping anyway? It would cost far much less not to disembark and let the cargo go all the way to Kisumu or to Malaba and then take the dry ports from there because we're serving other countries which are net exporters.
Okay. And your right to response, that's okay. But I want us to also now come back to the issue of independent candidature. And to you, Dan, the question being, if you do make it as member of parliament to represent the people of Naivasha, what is your game plan? What do you have in store for the people of Naivasha, especially given that you do not have, you're not going in with the backing of the party? Of a party. If whether Jubilee or NASA, if Jubilee won, you would not have their backing as a party. If NASA won, you'd not have their backing as a party. What is it that you have in store for the people of Naivasha?
Thank you very much. What I want to say is that if you look at the candidate that I'm supporting for President Uhuru Kenyatta, he's a leader who works with people who have good ideas.
But I want to know what Dan has in store
Yes.
for him. Uhuru Kenyatta is...
Yes, that's where I'm headed. And that's why I'm saying that the idea that I will not have the party backing, you don't necessarily need a party backing to serve your people. If you're serving your people well, even the people who are serving in other capacities will want to work with you because they also have the same goal of serving the people. Now, having said what I have said, one of the main issues that I must begin to solve, which is even shameful to mention today, is that until this moment you're speaking here today, we do not have fresh water in Naivasha. Our youth last week were being kicked away from the recruitment in the army and also in the police because of not having strong teeth. And that is an issue that I can tell you is shameful. One of the people I'm running against was an assistant minister for water 15 years ago. So that what we're saying is the people who are going for recruitment today, had she done her job well, they should not be struggling with that issue today as an assistant minister for water. Secondly, I want to assure the people of Naivasha, the youth of Naivasha, that we're going to have Naiv Labs, where we're going to ensure we have digital centers in every ward in my constituency, so that our young people who I'm always interacting with on WhatsApp, they can use those skills to work online and to improve their knowledge through those Naiv Labs, where we shall also transform them into digital libraries so that even school children can access education through the Naiv Labs. Another issue that is very critical to me is that if I was a member of a party, I think it is expected of me to pay a certain fee to the party. And I have promised the people of Naivasha that I'm going to include that in my tithe whatever I would have paid to a political party as a membership fee, a monthly membership fee, I will use that to ensure that every church in my constituency, and this is a promise I'm making, has a PA system. Because I have attended most of those churches and they struggle to communicate. And my contribution that would go to a political party will be going to every church in Naivasha in form of a PA system. And that is a promise that I'm making to my people, and I'm promising my people that for the next 5 years, Naivasha will be a beacon of hope and success in the whole country.
All right, I'll come back to you, but let me hear what your plan is and what your vision is for Langata.
First and foremost, let me say this. Langata constituency is one of the most endowed constituencies in this country. And I say this with absolute honesty. First of all, we have an international airport. We have Uhuru Gardens. We have National Park in Nairobi National Park. We have the Bomas of Kenya. And above all, we have 5 universities and 6 hospitals. These are enough resource centers to generate business for dozens and dozens and thousands of youth, actually, by allowing them into the tendering process and allowing them to do business. We cannot continue to host public institutions that don't do business with the communities that host them. This is a basic principle of economic understanding for any country. So one of the first things that we're going to do, contrary to popular belief, we will not be shaking people's gates. We want to lead our business communities in Langata, the women and the youth, and even gentlemen our age, to be able to carry out negotiations so we can have a quota of the business that is there in these public institutions. Away from that, I'm in a very urban area, and I'd say that, right in the center of urbanism. And so you have issues of road network quality. And when you talk about road network quality in areas like Langata, it might be different. For instance, in Soweto East, you have what they describe as unplanned settlements. We don't have to live them that way. We have the ability to bring planning within these unplanned settlements. So we want to ensure that we have cabro walkways around each and every of those.
So basically, sorry to cut you short, it's because of time. You're talking about there's going to be a lot of development.
Not just a lot of development, but we're going to ensure that the development that we're giving to the people of Langata translates into business for the people of the Langata constituency. Let me be clear. Most people in an urban area have 2 problems: food on the table and money in the pocket. And that's our basic policy. It's an economic policy. This is an economic political drive.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll have to wind it up right there because of time. And that's Musari Siongo, who is a member of parliament, aspirant for Langata, and also but now on an independent ticket, and Dan Gishaga, who is aspiring to be member of parliament for Naivasha. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on the Dawn Debate. This is Morning Express. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at some of the stories making headline. Then also join us later on for the State of the Nation, where we put our hands on the pulse and find out if we have a healthy heartbeat right here in Kenya. Don't go away.